Hello, happy Monday.
Hello.
And it's the final week of September, and I'm not quite sure what to make of this.
Time. Hello, Ahmad. Oh,
I have
Amy,
a
fun is
question.
so. Oh, go ahead. Yes.
So it's a quick question. Like, did we move this again to this time, or because like I remember last time we did it 1 hour later?
It alternates. So on the weeks that have the APAC EMEA call, so next week, for example, it's a week later because that's a terrible time for Ruben. But on the weeks where we only have the one call, it's earlier, which is a terrible time for Steve.
Okay,
so.
Got it.
There's no winning on this one. But we can do feedback, right? So I have not updated all of the schedules on this. I'm going to do it manually just for the next few weeks because the clocks change in about 4 weeks for quite a lot of countries. So once the clocks all switch around, and I think this time of year we all switch at the same time. I think it's only earlier in the year that countries use different weeks. So I think there's a weekend in about a month's time where a lot of countries will change their clocks, and then we can figure out what the schedule needs to look like.
I think there's always the week of madness where
I
half
thought
of
that was
the
only in
I think it's
spring.
both.
Is it
It
both?
happens both times, but I'm not sure. But
yeah, you could be right. Oh, I hate the week of madness. So yeah, there's gonna be a mess, and then we can try and unmess it after. Cool. So I think we actually, for once, have a full list in the upcoming out of office. So well done, everyone. Please take a scan through on that. And say mainly just if you are expecting things from certain people, then plan around their dates. And let's see. So I don't feel I should be actually the person to say this. So Myra, actually, no, let me do the intro. So welcome, everyone. This is the 25th of September. We've had the intro. Now we have the opening credits. Now you're hooked. And we have an announcement, but I do actually think we should shout this out. And Myra, I suggest you shout it out since you've done the hard work.
Yeah, for sure. So hello, everyone. Welcome to another Monday, another week. I set a schedule to discuss the first session of the release manager discussions and chats. I set it on Wednesday at 15 UTC. It was the best time that I could find to try to group all of us together. If one of you can make it, it is fine. It is going to be recorded. And the purpose of it is to discuss release manager stuff. It is not up to former release managers or to upcoming release managers. It is up to everyone to bring topics that they want to clarify about release management. I am going to bring some, but if someone has another topics, please bring them. And yeah, let's see how it goes.
Awesome. Is there any pre-work that we should do?
Just if you have something in mind that, oh, I encountered this when I was running as release manager, like what should I do? Is this a better way, or anything that is on your mind?
Sure, sounds good. Nice. Does anybody have any suggestions of things that should have been added to the release docs changelog? Okay, cool. So discussions, Myra, I don't know if we need to discuss A. What do you reckon? Things calm down now.
Yeah, I am happy to see that things are better, I believe. And since we no longer have the third priority, I think we can leave the due date as is, up to release managers as always.
Yeah, I would suggest we leave it as is, just because all the stage groups will have been working to that date. So simple. Cool. And then on B, I was curious, I've been following along on this discussion around improving hot patching. So thanks for the discussions there, and really interested to great to see we had it in progress. Well done for fixing the problems you found, Ahmad. I was wondering what would be a good step to make things a little bit better in 16.5. So we don't have to go in with like the gold standard process, but is there something that would actually make it a bit smoother, a bit less time consuming for the next iteration?
Having experimented this on 16.4, I think one thing that would make it better is to have a dedicated schedule for it. For example, I think if we do this early on AMER, or perhaps late on AMER and early on EMEA, I think those are quiet times. And we don't have normally a lot of traffic or a lot of things going on. And if we do that at those times, because this practice is a bit intrusive, then it will be easier to schedule than trying to do it, for example, early AMER, late EMEA, in which is the intersection of both, and we have a lot of traffic. So that could be one. Another one is to try to sort of fix how it is scheduled as well, because we have an item on the release monthly issue that says, oh, we need to do this practice. But other than that, there is no guidelines about like what should we do with this practice. I mean, I stumbled across that when I was reviewing the list, and I thought to myself, should I create an issue and ping everyone? Should I post a message on Slack and just allow everyone to contribute? Like, it seems that some guidelines to actually start the practice are missing. And probably in long term, it will be great to have some automation that could help us, because we need to create an incident issue. We need to create merge request hot patch. We need to disable canary. We need to do a lot of stuff. It is very, very manual from what I could observe. Having some automation with chat ops that says, hey, chat ops, test practice hot patch run, that creates all of that for us. And perhaps even a checklist that has, oh, you need to do this and that and that. I think in the long term, that could also be helpful.
I agree on like the first 2 points. I disagree on the automation part, to be honest. So why we do this practice is basically just to figure out that the tooling are working correctly. Otherwise, because like this is the only way actually we know that the toolings are working correctly. And like last time when we did it, I figured there is a problem with the runners, and then it could be fixed. And the other thing is just to train also the people on how to do the hot patching. So if we automate actually everything, when we have a real hot patching and someone from the delivery team needs to execute it, he's gonna like actually most of the foundation of this. So it's just like the automation part, but I agree we need to move it from the release management issue to something like maybe a monthly issue that's open, like the re-innovate bump, and then we assign the people to it. So I agree on this part.
Perhaps automation could be something that can be like in the middle, some automation that actually functions when we are hot patching and also works on the practice. So it is always used and there is always a single source of truth. It could be something to discuss.
Yeah. Also, like, I actually see that we will withdraw this at some point because, as always, like the hot patching was just like an exception into our process. As Jarv mentioned multiple times, should be like we just like need to get rid of it at some point. I'm not sure if this actually will happen anytime soon with the cells, but for now we just like need to have it. And yeah, we need to take also like a look into how to improve it, but unfortunately, like, it's not like a very high priority to us.
Yeah, and I think it's a super critical tool. Like, I think it's one, like, we would all have loved to have got rid of this years ago. The reality is it's not going anywhere whilst we have database migrations. So but at the same time, when we want to use this tool, things are very bad. So we do need to, we need to trust it's working.
But how does it compare now that we have very fast speak into a deploy? Because back then, so I'm trying to remember. So at the beginning, we only had Patcher. So it was the only way to get out of a issue, an incident, and things like that. But still, we were waiting for pipelines, things to happen. So it was still taking that. Was fast to apply, but it took time to review and build the patch itself. Then we started having more Kubernetes deployment, and so Patcher was no longer working. And I have this conversation with Java and said maybe we can just patch the image themselves, right? And we ended up with what we have today. And more or less at the same time, we started developing rollbacks. So we had another option, but now we also have peek into auto deploy. There are, I would say, because the last time that I was checking with Jar, he told me it still takes kinds of 30, 40 minutes to build the patched images. Maybe I'm wrong, but is that an accurate number? It takes 30, 40 minutes to build it? No one is speaking. Everyone is thinking. No one is speaking.
I'm thinking.
How long does it take?
It takes like roughly 2 hours for the whole thing, or 1 hour and a half. So I think 30 minutes to build the images. I think it takes this time.
Is it 1 hour and a half for all the environments, like for staging Canary? Okay.
Yeah,
but that's also, because we are not doing anything in between, like QA or baking times or things like that.
Yeah, most of the time is spent on actually QA.
Yeah, it includes Q&A.
Yeah.
Okay.
And if you don't do QA, it takes about like 30 minutes for the entire thing, at least like during the hot patching practice. Yeah.
Okay, so it's still faster. No, because
the other thing that we've got, Alessio, is don't forget the other big difference is hot patcher can be run by any SRE, whereas so at weekends or things like that, we would have to hot patch if none of us are available. So it's also got until we have auto rollbacks, I think we'll have to have a hot patcher.
But I was not thinking about rollbacks as an option, but more about peek into auto deploy as a replacement to hot patcher, because in the end you still want to build an image. And then I was thinking about peek into auto deploy used to be much slower, and so that's why we had hot patching. But how does it compare today with having something ready to peek into auto deploy? That's the question, right? Because maybe it takes a bit more. A peek into auto deploy takes a bit more to build the image.
Yeah, it's probably still multiple hours difference.
Multiple hour, I don't think. Just because we do a regular rollout, and so we have baking time. If you strip out,
that's what I mean.
But you can bypass peek into auto deploy. Sorry, but you can bypass baking time. You can just play the promotion, and it will promote.
Oh, sure, yeah.
Because I was thinking in future times when we have cells instead of single environments, it doesn't make much sense to go there and hot patch cells or things like that. You just want to have a new package and roll out a new package.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we may not be able to hot patch a cell, I guess, because it's probably unlikely that it's one cell that has the problem, which means you have potentially 1,000 places to hot patch. So maybe at that point we don't want to do this.
Yeah, this still plays in this conversation about building a package from rolling out a package. And so if how do we build the package? Could it be by hot patch as a system for building images, or regular auto deploy? And then that's the entry point to something else, right? So right now, also this process is very couplet, right? So you can't say, build me a not patched version of GitLab. It takes 10 minutes instead of 1 hour. And then I'll just feed that version number into something else that is applying it. It is still, I want to start hot patching. So I have a full process that starts from selecting something to rolling out to production, or I want to peek into auto deploy. And then it's another process with very similar end goal, producing a package and rolling out through all the fleet, but a completely different path.
I wonder, because I think the main difference I can see between hot patch and regular patch, like in this future world, is that you want the hot patch to be fast, But what doesn't really make sense is that for it to be more risky, because otherwise you kind of end up with a position of like, if we're okay with having more risky for the hot patch, like why don't we just have more risky all the time? But I wonder,
in theory, you can only revert buyout patch or just doing very minimal changes.
Yeah, in theory, yeah. But I wonder if there's also another way where we consider, so the other thing we always balance on is cost. And I wonder if in the future, the kind of the hot patch one is just the more expensive path where we like spin up maximum, environment resources to make everything super fast, run it all in parallel. So you get all the same building and testing. It's just a lot faster and more expensive. But in the hot patch circumstances, we deem that to be a good choice. I'm imagining also release environments, but I should add to this thing.
I think there's also a key difference here, which is that it's with hot patching, you can basically break testing, which is something that is not possible with a regular pick into deploy. Because what happens when you hot patch, the patch is reviewed as a patch. And so there's no pipeline testing the content of the patch in the context of GitLab, the application, or any other components we're going to patch, right? So this is what happens there, right? So it saves time because pipelines are shorter, as well as you are allowed to basically temporarily breaking any tests, because if you pick that patch and apply straight to master, you have a red pipeline because you're not going to fix tests in the hot patch. You're just producing the code changes necessary on the application side to fix the problem, the vulnerability, or whatever it is, right? So in that sense, it's also faster to develop, it's faster to everything. But I still stand to my point, which is if you have building a package and rolling out a package, then you have two processes, and rolling out a package can be the same process. You don't have to maintain several tools to do the same thing. And then they can be just a parameter of rolling out a package that has, this is a hot patch, so please go fast. Don't do baking time, skip this, skip that. But still, this is how we roll out a package in the fleet.
So for this next milestone, Akmal, Jenny, the release managers, like, is there something you would like to try out from this kind of discussion to mean that we get a hot patch test, but it's not as disruptive as the previous milestone?
I think like someone else is gonna execute it still from the team. So maybe with the new changes to the runbook that Jenny added, this could help a bit. But to be honest, I'm not sure if this is gonna make it faster or not. We still need to like do the patching itself. So yeah.
What about scheduling? Like, is there would it make sense, for example, for the release managers to kind of have more of a say on, like, it's going to be, I don't know, whatever, like it's Friday and it's going to happen at like 9 a.m. UTC or whatever, it fits well with your schedule? Would that help?
Yeah, we can do this. We can basically experiment with the scheduling part to be less disruptive, basically.
Yeah, I think that's probably a good idea. Like, I think it will be a bit disruptive for sure. But I think, especially given we saw problems in the last run, it's definitely got use as well. So, are there any other discussions that people want to go through? Nope. Okay. We're over to release managers. I don't know if you lot will thought out whether it's past or current, but I'll let you have your battle right now. We'll all watch. The rest of us will watch.
I can do it. Looks like last week we had some issues, I think. We didn't promote a lot of packages from 21st. To be honest, I'm not sure if this is due to the Family and Friends Day or there were incidents, but I suppose there were incidents with and QA failures on G-Stage in Canary, because like I've seen today, similar flaky tests. This also morning, we started with a couple of incidents that prevented us from promoting lots of packages. I only promoted one. Like they are sort of resolved, but I didn't promote many packages, so I also, this is why we have this yellow line here. And tweak last month. I think this looks normal. Like there is no.
What does it look like over 90 days?
Yeah, it looks normal.
Pretty normal.
Also for the lead time for changes, I think this is a bit lower because it was a short week. I don't know. Maybe Myra could add here, but this also like looks fun, I think, to me.
It's shorter because it misses one data point because of the Family and Friends Day, I think. So,
Okay.
so you have
We
one data point
were-
less, and
We
then
were
you have.
deploying on the 22nd. Well,
We
in
were?
theory,
Okay.
we would have done if we'd have been able to.
Yeah. Okay. That's another story. Okay. So. Yeah. Still, there's a gap.
Okay. I didn't update the deployment blockers, unfortunately, not yet. So I'm not sure actually where to bring last week. I think.
An issue should be assigned to you. So
Yeah, I didn't get actually like an assignment on my Gmail yet. So I will check. Maybe I overseen it or something.
okay.
But anybody has any questions?
I think I was just going to add, like, yeah, please, I appreciate the flakiness on the tests. Like, please do keep those visible. I am following up with Vinci to get to the bottom of this. It looks like there's a couple of things playing into this, but from what I could see of the times where I glanced over last week, like they are flaking a lot, which is really, like, we want to make that visible. We want to add some noise on that because we shouldn't have to manually touch every single deployment, and it seems to be the case at the moment.
From observation, it seems that we are not cleaning up records on staging and also on production. So every time, every day we have a new Q&A group. And if that Q&A group has a lot of projects and a lot of groups, a lot of specs are going to fail because are going to time out because there are a lot of groups and groups to be fetched. So what quality does is to perform a manual cleanup. And that manual cleanup helps, but it takes a couple of hours to run. So it's also very invasive. And there are some issues in which I'm also following up, trying to say like, hey, when can we prioritize that? When can we prioritize this? Because the last time it interrupted the cert, and that was awful.
So aren't we still using the week of day groups? So they basically had this in base of the week of the day, there was a partition of groups, and the same day of the week gets the same group, and so sub projects and things like that. And this used to resolve this problem of groups being too big and things like that. So they could they basically had 6 days to recycle the things.
Yeah, it is the same pattern. Yeah, it is the same pattern. The problem is that the projects and groups that are created as a result of the specs are not being cleaned. So we have quality groups that have over 3,000 groups and a lot and thousands of projects because they are not automatically cleaned. Something failed in their scripts.
Okay, no, because I thought they were just destroying the namespace the day after. And so they basically had 6 days to get back to the, because it was kind of modulo 7, something like a QA group, and then it was a modulo 7, and so it was just turning around. So they had 7 days to get back to the same number, and so there was not enough time to clean up.
Yeah. Yeah,
maybe this is still the case, but we're testing. There are more tests or more deployments, and so one group a day is no longer enough to keep up with this.
Yeah, that might also be possible. Yeah. So yes, let's keep making lots of noise. Keep asking the quality DRIs to help keep raising issues, and we'll try and get that resolved as soon as we can. Cool. Is there anything else that should be on this recording?
Grim is coming tomorrow, right? Because we have the charts bump. I didn't do it this week because this morning was busy with the incidents. So
he is back tomorrow. I don't know how he will prioritize his time as he comes back in after a week off. So he may have it ready for you when you come in. If he doesn't, I'd say just go ahead without him tomorrow.
Okay.
And bump.
Thank you.
Or if you get time, if we have time to do it later today, maybe 3 your day, Jenny, then let's go for it if we have time. Nice. Okay, cool. Stop the recording.